All right. I'll call the October 7th, 2019 City Council meeting to order. Call the roll.
John Hawkins.
Here.
Matt McKinney.
Here.
Brian Miller.
Here.
Jim Talbot.
Here.
Logan Welch.
Here.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On Saturday, September 28th, 2019, Webster City Assistant City Manager and Recreation and Public Grounds Director Kent Harfs passed away at the age of 57 years old. Kent began his career with the City of Webster City, serving the community in 1980. Kent has been Assistant City Manager and Recreation and Public Grounds Director for the past 19 years. In this time, he also served as 3 separate occasions as Acting City Manager. Kent dedicated his life and career to the betterment of the City of Webster City and its residents. Kent has been instrumental in a number of community-wide projects. If you use any of the city's many recreational facilities, areas or parks, there is no question that Kent played a major role in the developing or maintaining these areas. Kent leaves behind an amazing wife and children who, along with the rest of his family and friends, should be extremely proud of the husband, father, son, brother, uncle, friend and colleague that Kent was. As a community, we are better as a whole for Kent having been a part of it. His legacy will live on forever. Thank you, Kent. I would like the council or people in here would hold a moment of silence in remembrance of Kent. Okay. Next section is A. Petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. No more than 5 minutes per person. Except in case of emergency, the City Council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask City staff to research the matter or have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. Anyone have anything? Not too many. Anyone here have anything? Thank you for everyone who attended the Lift Taste of Fall event on Sunday. That was a great thing there last night anyway. Got more than enough to eat, that's for sure. Alright, so B, minutes and claims. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or the member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, it will be considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. We have item 1, minutes of September 16, 2019. Item 2 is a resolution on payroll for period ending September 14 and paid on September 20th. 3 is a resolution on payroll for the period ending September 28th and paid on October 4th. And 4 is a resolution on bills and the fund list. How would you like to?
I move to approve 1 through 4 collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item C, general agenda. Item 1 is an update by owner of property at 411 Prospect Street, the 6-month report as per resolution of 2019-051-3/18/19. Brian? How you fellas tonight?
Good.
You been busy?
Yeah. Yeah, roof's all on it now. Let's go down. Redone some windows in it. we're gonna be changing those later on with some little bit nicer actual windows in it. I guess, back wall's all been done, for the most part. What else we got here? Yeah, so that's all we needed was secure the building and put the roof on. Is there, anything that's not been done that we are not seeing yet?
Corey, did you have anything you wanted to talk with it?
Met with Brian a while back, end of September, beginning of October. He did a walkthrough real quick. It looked wonderful compared to what I saw prior to what it was.
A huge difference.
Again, met everything that was required by the city council. His future thoughts, I'll let him talk about it, but he has thought about the future, short-term and long-term, of what he wants to do with the property. And I agree with everything he's done so far, safety-wise, utmost, and then just overall appearance. Then on that, the future, again, continuing that process of making it even safer, and then again, bringing that the property back to a better state than what he purchased it with. So.
All right.
Yeah, so like you said, the future plans we plan on putting in, the existing windows are that we've already kind of blocked up. We're gonna put glass block windows in there in time. The gable ends, which is on the east and west side of it, those will get steel on in time. What else we got?
You put some paint on?
Yeah, yeah, we
It
painted
looked
that.
clean, it looked like
Yeah.
cleaner than it was, yeah.
Concrete.
We plan on redoing the sidewalk, cause it's just, doesn't look real good. It's got some
Yeah.
spots I don't care for, and then the approach is gonna get redone in time. What else we got? New doors are going in. We've got one new entry or garage door in already. I don't know if we'll put another one in or not, but actually entry doors, we'll be putting some of them in. What else we got? Painting the backside of the building, gotta do that yet.
Yeah, we have some more painting to do, but we have a little more work left to do before we can move forward with that.
No, it looks great. I mean, yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, I want to compliment you because you had a long road this whole you got her done, so
Yeah.
good job, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys working with us like you have. You know, that 6-month window to us when we were here originally seemed like a giant milestone, but we're able to pull through on that. And
Well, thanks very much.
Good.
Good job.
Thank you.
so that was satisfied, and
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody's got anything?
Yep.
I mean, you have a look at
Yeah,
it.
it's, like, you can,
Night and day.
and the other part of it is too, is like, you know, from like Main Street, you can kind of see it as an actual building now, instead of like a shell of one, so,
Yeah.
that's great.
Okay, item 2 is recommended approval for issuance of a beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following. A, change from Class B native wine permit to Class B wine permit, Casey's General Store, number 3054 at 700 Superior Street. Do you want me to read those?
You had approved this annual license earlier in the year, and they're just upgrading their wine permit. So instead of being able to sell just Iowa wines, they can sell all wines.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 3 is a resolution authorising cigarette, tobacco, nicotine and vapour permit for AA Tobacco Outlet at 641 2nd Street.
And again, this one, you approved this in June, but they changed locations from Superior Street to 2nd Street. So we have to
What
issue
location on Second Street? Like where's?
641 2nd Street. I'm not sure what building that is.
That'd be downtown, right?
Yeah.
Where, Chicago style used
It's
to be.
just this side of, yeah, where they used to be.
Where they used to be.
Was the former address the old English liquor?
Next to,
What's
Is
that?
that where they wanted, were wanting
They
to
were
go?
gonna go
The
where the
laundromat
mail
building
place
is where
is,
they
the
were gonna
front
go.
part of that.
yeah, the Hardy's, what is it?
Yeah, they're going right next, where the pet shop used to be, right next door, 641.
Mr. Leons.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. Opposed, same sign. Item 4 on the agenda is second reading of a closed ordinance, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending Chapter 46, Article 5, Section 46-206 by adding 101. Ken, did you want to talk on that at all?
As you can see in the ordinance, this is from Fair Meadow to Lewis Drive. This is to allow parking, or excuse me, to allow parking on the west side and to eliminate parking on the east side of Des Moines Street. The reason for this is with parking on both sides, it's pretty tough to get emergency vehicles through that area, and obviously with the senior citizen centers in both those areas, that's pretty important. So the reason that no parking was allowed on the east side was because there's more driveways on the east side, so the west side allowed for more parking.
Okay.
This was recommended by the traffic committee.
Call for a motion.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'll ask if you want to waive the third reading.
I'll move to waive it.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'll call for a motion to pass and adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 5 on the agenda is a resolution authorising the Mayor and City Clerk to enter into a pole attachment agreement with Woolstock Mutual Telephone Association in Woolstock, Iowa, to serve fibre to 1620 Superior Street, Webster City, Iowa.
This is our normal pole attachment agreement for poles that we have existing. I think, obviously, we started at Ohio and River Street, and we go up to Water Street, and then go west and connect to, what is the address, 620 1620 Superior. So, this allows the Woolstock Telephone Company to attach to the poles. I guess if you have questions, excuse me, if someone, there is a calculation that we use to determine how much that pole attachment fee is, and it goes by the size of the pole, how much they're using of the pole. In other words, it's a footage up and down that pole, so it's prorated that way. That's how it's determined.
We don't have to put in any new poles or anything
No,
like that.
we don't
just
have to put in
attach them.
new poles. If we put in new poles, we had to put in new poles for them, then it would be
Another charge.
a different charge.
Just point of reference, a good kid, where is 1620? I'm trying to, is it up this way?
Lighting building. It's lighting building.
Oh, you're new now. Oh, I wouldn't know.
He caused this whole
Which
problem.
they already had fiber there, which I don't understand why they put poles or do this agreement, because there was fiber when we got there.
Well,
That's what they told us, at least, yeah, that's probably
it
right.
was a verbal agreement to put the fiber in there, and then this needed to take place.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Call for motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 6 is a resolution authorising execution of a warranty deed conveying city-owned property in Southeast Development Park Number 4 to Black Hills Iowa Gas Utility Co. LLC. Carl?
Since the time of the writing of my memo, we have closed.
Okay, I figured.
So this is a formality, seeing as you've already approved the sale in the first place, so it's just formality.
Okay. Well, it's good to have another lot sold out there.
What?
It's good to have another lot sold
Oh,
out there.
and that took a 5.28 acres, so
Yeah.
everything on the
5.28
north
acres.
side, everything on the north side is gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
But we still need a motion, right?
Yeah.
So moved.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 7 is a resolution authorising and approving execution of a subordination and a creditor agreement, including the promissory note, mortgages and warranty deeds between the City of Webster City and DJD Development LLC of Des Moines, Iowa.
First of all, DJD Development is J. Larson Homes plus the entity that's gonna be building the homes. They've formed a new partnership. And the subordination agreement is basically what we discussed the last time we talked about this, where we'll subordinate with the bank that basically we get paid for the lot when the house sells. And the lot has agreed, or the bank has agreed to do 8 at a time. So this is for 8 homes. When the homes sell, we get paid.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Carl?
They still got a plan to start working this fall?
Yeah.
Well,
They
they're supposed to
close-
close tomorrow,
Yeah, they
so,
close on the loan tomorrow, so they're
Yeah,
supposed
so
to be
we'll
rocking
see.
and rolling.
They want to do it before winter breaks.
We got 3 days now.
So if they're successful.
So, all those in favour, we call for motion.
So moved.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 8 is a resolution authorising and approving execution of an offer for real estate agreement between the City of Webster City, Iowa and Gloria G. Oliver of Webster City, Iowa. Jack?
So this was, after our last council meeting, this is the house on Second Street, the corner of Second and Beach that was for sale previously. Jeff and I met with the realtor and they came back and we negotiated a sale price of $93,000, which they were asking $112,000. So we were able to secure it for $93,000, so that's what it is before it.
Pretty obvious.
Is that the house right across from the KT's there?
Yes.
Yep.
Second.
Brian?
Logan, second.
Cool. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 9 is a resolution authorising entry into an amendment number 11 to the on-call paving specialist agreement of February 6th, 2017 with Snyder and Associates Incorporated of Ankeny, Iowa. This is for the stop sign, for the traffic study, sorry, for the stop sign, yeah. So, I don't think there's much to be.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 10 is a resolution accepting work authorising payment of retainage in the amount of $30,000 to Wicks Construction Incorporated of Decorah, Iowa for completion of contract for the Brewer Creek Estate 5th and 6th editions. Finally. You can do it on this one, Ken.
They weren't requesting final payment, so we weren't willing to pay them. So finally, they decided that they wanted to close it out, so here we are.
Good.
Move to approve.
Second.
Need Anytime we save money is a good day. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 11 is report update by City Manager and City Financial Advisor of Northland Securities on proposed 2020 2nd Street reconstruction project. Over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know, the city has made it a priority, working on the proposed Second Street project for quite some time. Certainly in the last month, it's been the focus of my work. The last several meetings, we've been working with the engineering firm who's established a timeline consistent with the council and mayor's wishes, which called for the final design to be complete by the end of the year and be prepared to accept bids to begin construction in the spring of 2020. At this point, it is in the hands of the mayor and council to make a final decision. We've presented information previously, both the finance director and myself, on the fiscal impacts of the project. So the handout that you're receiving, you've received multiple times before. I want to emphasize there's no new information. This is exactly what you've seen before. I thought in an effort to make sure we had all the resources available for you to, in terms of the fiscal analysis, I invited Mr. Schultz from Northland to be available, so both Doty and I and he are available to answer any questions that you might have prior to considering a final decision on moving forward on the project. So if you have any questions for me or Chip or Doty, please let us know. I only suggest I'm gonna have Chip give an overview if that's all right, and then we'll go from there.
Good evening. Chip Schultz with Northland Public Finance, good to be with the council this evening. What's in that handout is really kind of a repeat of the material that you've seen before, but I will just do a really brief overview for the council to go over the project. If you go to the second page of the bound handout, that is a preliminary look at a debt service schedule for the proposed Second Street reconstruction project. We've assumed a spring of 2020 financing. We would assume that you would go ahead with financing once you have bids in hand, and therefore you can appropriately size the bond issue with knowledge of the construction bids. As a preliminary look, we've structured the bonds to be paid back over a 15-year period, and with that payback period, on which we have assumed some conservative interest rates, so for allowance for interest rates to move in between now and next spring. The debt service levy is shown in the far right column with this payback structure. And I would note, as you review that levy, what we're working to evaluate are potential ways that levy may be reduced. So this is a base case. You I hate to use this term, but you might call it a worst case scenario. And we're working on alternatives as a way to bring that levy down. What's shown on the next page is a review of the tax impact. Again, assuming no abatement or no additional payment sources for the debt service levy for various property tax scenarios with residential, commercial, and multi-residential shown in the handout. What's shown in the two right columns are the tax impacts associated with this project on both an annual basis and broken out. People often look at things on a monthly basis for budget purposes, so that's shown in the far right column. And you can see the various tax impact scenarios shown on the page, considering the rollback factors that we have at the top right of the page. I'm happy to go over any detail on that. There's a lot of numbers there if you'd like. But that's kind of a starting point that we're working with. And so what's on the next page is an analysis of each city and county and school district in the state has to fall within a legal debt capacity analysis. You kind of have a payment analysis that looks at the debt levy impact. Then you have a legal debt capacity analysis. That's based on 5% of your 100% or actual valuation before rollback. With the debt, this is a significant project, as the city manager noted. After the debt is in place, the city would be right at about 73% of its legal debt limit. So I think from a legal debt standpoint, it's a very achievable project for citizens. And then as existing debt is paid down, and this bond issue for Second Street is paid down, then you'll note the far right column on page 4, the legal debt burden decreases over time as debt's paid down. So in 3 years, it'd be about 65% of legal debt capacity and about just under 60% in 4 years. And I think the next page really, the project on its own there's a compelling reason, of course, for the city to proceed with it. I think just from a timing standpoint, looking at interest rates, we wanted to simply emphasize that it's a very favorable time in the bond market. What this graph shows is just a generic trend of interest rates over the past year, and you can see what a favorable point. We're really right, not quite at, but very close to a low point for interest rates over the past year, which, if you isolate that period, that was the most recent year is quite a low rate period on its own. So it's a very favorable time from an interest rate standpoint. Wanted to try to keep it brief, if they have any questions that the council may or might have.
I know this question was asked previously, and not necessarily something you would answer, but this still leaves us room as we're looking at a wastewater treatment plant.
And there's no, because the funding sources would be completely different. There certainly would be a fiscal impact of a wastewater treatment plant, but this project is anticipating all of the funding coming from the general obligation bond, and most likely the sanitary sewer plant would be tied directly to the sanitary sewer rate. And that funding source would secure any debt that would be necessary to complete that project.
I know we talked about it, I just thought it would be good to put it out there.
Absolutely. I think it's a very important point because they're both significant projects.
You bet. The positive part about your revenue debt in the city, your sewer revenue debt, electric revenue debt, and water revenue, none of those count against your legal debt limit, so that's positive.
So does that mean, how would that, you probably can't speak on this, but would we expect similar effects tax-wise on the wastewater plant?
I think we would expect higher rates.
To be rate-wise.
Yeah.
So when we say,
Beyond the rates.
when we say we're kinda like, it's leaving room for this other project, maybe within our legal capacity and our debt limits, yes, but is it leaving room in the citizens' budgets? With rate increase is for electricity just recently, and then, water increases to fund that project, and now tax increases. We kinda gotta look at the pocketbook more so than, our abilities, or our breadth of abilities, both debt and workload, but one question I had, this might be a really dumb question, I have a quick answer. So this is a 15-year bond. I'm looking at some of these monthly impacts and annual impacts on residential and different types of properties. If all goes well, right, your property's gonna be worth more in 15 years. So really, would you say a property would follow that increase as it increases in value throughout the 15-year term?
We've set the debt structure up so that the annual debt service payments are level throughout the 15-year period.
Okay.
So just from a nominal dollar standpoint, it'll be the same throughout the term.
I got you.
It won't escalate as the value escalates.
Okay, good to know.
Good question.
Well, I have a couple comments I'd like to make on that. One is if we look at the water wastewater treatment facility, and the increased cost to that, to the person on their budget per month, and I brought this up in the past, we have a lot of people on fixed income, Social Security is all they have. And a lot of times that doesn't go up with the cost. I mean, just say a $75,000 house, that's annually $131, and if we throw in, hypothetically, how much are we gonna have to throw on top of that waste treatment facility? Because with the base rate and the actual user rate, that's expensive now anyway. And I just see a significant impact to a lot of households in Webster City, doing both at the same time. And I guess,
I think that's an accurate characterization. Without a rate study, I wouldn't be prepared to give you a dollar amount in terms of the impact, but it will be significant. Perhaps the only other comment I would make as far as the cost, when you look at a project of this magnitude, as significant as it is, the method you've proposed is actually the most cost-effective in that you could choose to take out one or more of the elements. You could take out the water line replacement or the sewer line replacement and only do a portion. But in the end, when you have to dig it back up to fix those infrastructure at some point in the future, that total cost is gonna exceed what you're paying now to do them all at once. It's a huge bite to take, but it actually is the most cost-effective way to accomplish everything you need to do.
And I totally see your point, Jeff, and don't get me wrong, I'm for both of these projects, and I hate pulling in the wastewater project as we discuss this, but it is relevant. But, you know, again, I'll use the analogy of a household, you know, kitchen table, budget. You know, the roof's leaking and the car needs fixed, and sometimes a family or household can't afford both at once, so they make do with the other, even though it'd be much more effective, they just either get a new car and have the entire roof fixed, you know, and that's something we gotta weigh out.
I think that's a very fair analysis.
I think both need to happen in the near future, and if we can make it as the least amount of impact on the citizens' budgets, obviously, we're all shepherds of that, and we're all gonna, you know, be conscious of that, but, this is quite daunting, really, when you look at it, the amount, it could affect people monthly on their budgets, but I will state, parallel with that statement, that I do think the project should go through.
Yeah, and just like you said, it's one of those projects that it's gonna have to be done, well, you didn't say it directly, but it needs to be done sooner than later. We have favorable interest rates. Typically, you put a project off 2 or 3 years and the cost goes up to do the project on top of that. It makes sense to me to proceed with this portion of it at this point.
And it's been pushed down the road to us, that's why we're at where we're at now.
Okay, do you have any more questions? Thank you. Thanks, Matt. So I guess we're down to making a motion then on the 2020 Second Street reconstruction project, whether we're gonna.
I'd move to proceed forward with bidding the project.
And that's the state we're at right now, right? We're moving forward to bid it.
At this point, you authorize the engineering firm to complete the plans, to make them prepared to put out to bid.
Knowing the financial implications.
Correct.
And, okay, gotcha.
Correct.
I'll second.
So we're all cool, Carl.
Talbot,
Qualified, no, because I think there's too many open issues on the cost of the waterways, water treatment, and other things, the impact on fixed income households.
Welch,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Okay. Item D, reports, recommendations of officers, boards and commissions. Item 1 is a motion to accept and place on file the financial reports for July. Finance treasury report, bank reconciliation report, investment summary, receipts, available public fund 105-4791, available public funds checking 702-1682, and available public funds checking 702-1673. We also have August finance treasury report, bank reconciliation report, investment summary, receipts, available bank fund 105-4791, available public funds checking, and available public funds 702-1682, and available public funds checking 702-1673. So call for a motion to approve. So moved. Financial reports.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. And then we have Zach's city attorney report.
Yes, September was a month of real estate, which is good. Good and bad, I guess, but it's good in the amount of work it took. Yeah, so we got, like you said, we're closing tomorrow on Brewer Creek 5 and 6 on 8 lots. with the hope that the first 8 go great and we can continue, the bank wants to continue to, just going right down the line, so we're at least, gonna subordinate the first 8, at this time, and see how the project takes off from there. We've been working, out there with Black Hills on their new site out in the industrial park, which closed last week. Yeah, last week on that one, and then we've been working on the Edgewood project, we've been working on the Beach Street, getting that house acquired, which you guys obviously approved tonight. So we've been busy with real estate, for sure.
Can we back up?
Yeah.
To on other reports and recommendations, the homecoming parade permit, I will issue it, once I hear back from all the departments that are involved with the setting up and patrolling of it. It will be October 18th, about 2:30 p.m. Just wanted to let you know.
And one quick thing too, on the, oh, sorry, Bob.
Okay, the house there across from Casey's.
Yeah.
I call it the Taylor House. Mrs. Taylor lived there for years. Is there going to be anything at all, an attempt to save that house and move it someplace else?
We would like to think so, yes. Would you like to buy it? It's for sale.
I've moved houses before, so
Maybe 3,000, it can be yours.
I don't think I'd
But no,
quite pay
we
that
definitely
much.
would like to sell
Only a
that
fool
house to be
would
moved.
pay that.
One quick note too, I need youth advisory commission members, very badly. So if anyone knows a middle schooler or a high schooler, I'd be interested to serve, I'd be happy to talk to them.
How many do you need?
I need 1 middle schooler and 1 high schooler. Think about that.
Do you want to buy half a lot? Okay. Were you wanting to buy half a lot on 2nd Street?
I'm not committing myself to
Oh,
anything.
Because we only need half.
Keep in mind, I've been in
Front half.
I've been in town 50 years, I learned something over the years.
Okay. So call for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.